Okay, so for bonus points, I usually start zone with like an intro. Specifically, this zone is Steel Mountain Act 2, and you know, I started it with how it ended on Act 1. So just if you want to look at that, you could. But to start it off, I usually just start with my scale of my zone. And I usually go all the way 192, 48 for height and width. They usually start you off like this, and it kind of throws me off because I have a bunch of ideas that I want to do. So I just kind of scroll down and started with a clean slate, as you can see. But yeah, I usually give my player an intro, you know, let them like cruise in, let them get a feel of the vibe of the zone, you know what I'm saying? Then I usually break paths. I'm starting to learn that it doesn't hurt to have more than 5 paths, maybe 8, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even character specific paths, they're pretty kind of cool. I'm actually really liking to I'm really probably gonna start using these more often. I'm always sticking to the formula that the top is the fastest, the middle is the middle, and then the bottom is the slowest. Not sure what I'm going to do with about, you know, character specifics like Rouge and Knuckles, because those are the flight characters. Overall, we're gonna evolve on our formula. Again, we're talking about scale here. So with platforming and speed sections, as you can see, my speed sections have kind of shortened. They used to be very, very, very long. And I kind of see what people are saying that, you know, speed sections kind of get boring if you make them long like that. So I kind of cut that off and I kind of made them shorter. With that being said, the speed sections are shorter, and now I just kind of cut in to like platforming sections or obstacle sections depending on the vibe of the zone, and then we kind of cut back into speed sections. This one is kind of long, but again, it's not a hold right to win type of situation. Then I kind of cut back and I do either platforming sections, obstacle sections, enemy placement, which we're going to get back to in a second. Again, short burst of speed. And I really do understand why I like that now, because it does give the zone like a still feel exhilarating, if that makes sense. Going back to the checkpoint, there is character specific, you know, spots. Again, I'm not trying to make it a faster route. It really isn't, depending on how you play. But again, it's really up to the player. You know what I mean? It is a little linear right here, but then I go back to the video of Steel Mountain Act 1, and I kind of, you know, cut back and I do a little bit of reminiscing, you know, try to do some things that I remember from there and evolve on it. Again, I feel like this is a semi-long speed section. Still feel like I should cut. This is a very, it's not a whole right to win situation, but it's a very simple type of gimmick, and it could get boring depending on how you play, but we'll see. Let me know how I feel out in the comments, you know what I'm saying? Then there's another checkpoint, and the process kind of repeats itself, you know, just either platforming section or obstacle section, you know what I'm saying? Give them a little short boost of speed, platform, obstacle, whatever you're in the mood for, short boost of speed. I gave them another obstacle section or whatever, and it split routes, and then not to mention another specific character route if you can find it. And then I give them an ending speed section, and kind of just flows in together to the ending of the zone. So another little bonus point would be like transitions. Sometimes I'm trying to work on transitions depending on the mood of my zone. You know, it does take a lot to work on these zones if you want to call them a mega zone. When it comes to transitions, you really have to lock in with your events. If players are dying a lot in these zones, you will probably need to add checkpoints and put the events right where the checkpoints are, just to keep the aesthetic there, because sometimes people are not as good as you know what I mean? Now for object placement, something I am still working on, because I feel like my object placement is kind of mediocre. I still feel the same way. If it's an easy zone, don't put 3,000 enemies in your face. If it's a medium zone, put a reasonable body enemies. If it's a hard zone, again, don't inflate me with enemies. Like, what the crap? Really, long story short, you know, I don't really feel the need for 1,000 enemies in one screen. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's a hard difficulty. I think that's actually ridiculous. Another thing I'm kind of catching on to is that platforms are kind of like decorative chunks that you can literally put anywhere. They match with the foreground that you are trying to present, you know what I'm saying? And it just kind of looks good for the zone. So it doesn't hurt to try these out, you know, just put them anywhere. They really kind of fit, you know, wherever you want them to put, because they match with the foreground. Obstacles, spikes, and stuff like that. Again, I do feel like they do need their own section, but I am also starting to catch on to like enemies with objects and all that stuff. But don't put a bunch in my face. Like this right here is decent. Objects down here, enemies right here. That's not bad. I can deal with that. But spikes right here, up there, down here, no. Narrating. I love using the columns. I love the new chunks that we have with the red and pink. I love that. It's these green things that we have a problem with. These used to be airborne, but not anymore, because she have done some changing, and I'm not going to get upset about it or nothing, but I will say that we don't really have any more airborne decorative things, if that makes sense. Now, can there be too much decorate chunks? depending on how you use it. If you use the ones that like are like aquatic ruin where they just blur where Sonic is or whoever the player is, that's kind of gonna mess them up a lot. But I usually do those like when I'm going let the player go fast, because there's no reason, because I don't want them to get lost sometimes. You know, people get lost in this game, y'all. People don't know how to play Classic Sonic Simulator still. Even Classic Sonic at that. I do miss that airborne decorate. Like, look at all this stuff. Like, oh my god, like I could add a bunch of, you know, but it's we work with what we have. But yeah, this is version 2 of my level design. If it's a fight type zone, then I'll probably make it more linear, barely any routes, not really specific character routes, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. But for a mega zone, it's most likely gonna look like this: big scale, character specific routes, a lot of routes for Sonic and whoever is down there. Short burst of speed, but we got more platforming, you know what I mean? I do feel like transitions do give you bonus points, you know what I'm saying? With this one, it's more of like going down, so you're going back into the Steel Mountain. It's kind of changing the tint. Let me know how you feel about that. So in reality, it's either platforming, speed, platforming, repeat, or speed, platforming, repeat. Object placement. Again, I'm getting the keen to putting enemies with objects, enemies with obstacles. It's not bad. Just don't go crazy, you know. Decorative chunks, that's fine. Go crazy with them. I feel like it, but just don't do the aquatic ruin tactic where we can't see our character half the damn time. And then for a boss, I don't know, to be honest, y'all. If you guys want to help me out with that, let me know.
You can click the video, you can click subscribe.